Now, thank you for having me on this space. I'm happy for it. I've just been at Uhuru Park for the SabaSaba. It's gone well. The turnout was impressive. And I think generally in the country wants change. And the change the country wants is not change that we are going to invent. It's change that is called implementing the constitution. The people want to go back to the rule of law. They want to have this country run as a republic, not as somebody's private enterprise. And so it was really, really sad. I didn't believe it that we could shed blood after the 2010 constitution, and for no other reason than for that somebody was exercising their rights under the constitution, and they were cut down. And then somebody who doesn't care at all, has no feelings, calls them saboteurs of the state, whatever. The day when the state was more important than the lives of Kenyans went with the old constitution. In the new dispensation, the lives of the people come first. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. So to say that you have to defend a government at all costs, like the president said, and a government which had failed, for me, it was a very, very low moment for this country, because we have a charter. And this charter was like a ceasefire document that Kenyans are ceded to all the many struggles. And even those who are responsible for the neo-colonial state acceded to it. And so President Ruto did the most unacceptable thing, to unleash his police on the people, and to show that he was responsible. He has not held anybody accountable. Some of us who were in parliament that day can attest to the fact that this is the damage was caused by state agents. That's why there is damage in parliament, even in the higher floors, where these kids did not reach. So it's really a very, very sad moment for me, and I think for many Kenyans, that we are going through this kind of experience. So coming to the question of Ruto leaving office, I don't think it's a question of him resigning. It's a question of him being pushed out. I don't think he has the capacity to resign. He has to be, the Kenya Kwanza administration has been a total betrayal on the people of Kenya. Even the areas which overwhelmingly voted for him, like the mountain, like Bungoma County, have realized that they made a terrible mistake. There was nothing of value that I'm getting from this presidency. It's about themselves. It's about the people in office, and whatever happens, they don't care. Even the fake fertilizer, nobody has been panicked. It came and it went. And you have seen same. They say it was not, I don't know the words I've used, that it was not fake, but I don't know, it was also not genuine or something, I don't know. When you saw the president speak the first time, he was full of anger. He was condemning the peaceful demonstrators. And so his legitimacy to continue being in power, and the legitimacy of the Kenya Kwanza administration, cannot be there. His deputy president has been talking of shares, dividing this country in terms of the mountain against the rest of the country, which is really not a narrative that you can have, because if it's a question of mountains, we even have Mount Elgon. So it's a mountain. So what is special about the mountain? Other than trying to use ethnic mobilization for self-survival, not for the benefit of the people even of the mountain, and not for the benefit for the people of Kenya. So for me, I strongly believe that resignation is a soft term. Ruto just has to be kicked out of office, and this administration has to go. If it's a question of having an interim administration, so be it. But the mechanisms are there. I differ with those who say that because the commissioners are not there, we cannot hold elections in Kenya. Otherwise, that would be ceding power and saying that the MPs and the presidency can collude and not have IBC, and then come 2027, we don't have elections. The constitution is not designed like that. If you look at the architecture of the constitution, we have got an election for president taking place in the constituency, as ordained in Article 138, Clause 2. Bomas is a creation of MPs. We don't require bomas to conduct elections for the presidency. So we are able to get a proper government going. The question of who can take over is a wrong question, because no, we are not looking for a messiah. Who should take over is the law, is the rule of law. And anybody who doesn't believe in the rule of law, who thinks that him as an individual is the solution for Kenya, is wrong. So once the law is the force that is governing the country, anybody can govern this country. So let us work for the force, the rule of law. The question of who takes over is not important in our circumstance. We have got the constitution. Anybody who is ready to implement the constitution of Kenya is ready to lead us as we go forward. And there are very, very many Kenyans who believe that what is happening is wrong because the law has been disregarded and we need to implement the law. So I strongly believe that together we can force Ruto out of office and the Kenya Kwanza administration and get mechanisms whereby the law becomes the ruler and the law becomes the dictator. Kenya, under the dictatorship of the law, will become a first world country in very short time. But without the rule of law, no individual can save this country. Only the law can save us, and the supreme law is the constitution. Let us implement the constitution, and we shall have the paradise that is seen, that the framers of our national anthem saw when this country was being born. So that's how I would answer those two questions. Unless there's another question, I hand the mic back.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Okiya Omtata.
There was a question of the pension. Yeah, just remember the pension of the president. It is very clear, and that's another violation of the law, because if you are still in active employment, you cannot earn pension. It's not about public office. Is not about what you take away. It's not about take away. It's about service, and it's only when you are retired that you get a pension, and the pension you get is a pension from the last public office you held, not from every public office you held. You walk away with a pension. It's wrong, and it's not acceptable. And right now, especially right now, when many Kenyans who are retiring from the civil service are not getting pensions. Teachers are not getting their pensions for I don't know how many years. Doctors, all the people who retire don't get to go home with their pensions. So it cannot be acceptable that somebody at that level can be earning a salary and a pension at the same time. It's just an oxymoron. It's not acceptable. So that's all. And thank you for the honor to address you.
Thank you so much for sharing and setting aside time to come and join us, and also thanks for confirming that that's the case. So that would mean that the case in the question of pension, that would mean that Ruto is still receiving pension, but getting a salary. Is not only the only one. There's another person too. Is there any way that somebody can legally push against that? Because it is not congruent to come and tell people to live within their means when you yourself, you're having a pension and an active salary. Is there any way we can do that legally to ensure that moving forward, even for the future presidents or people who hold such high positions, do not have like two salaries? Back to you.
Yes, I think there is a provision, because I think I don't have my constitution here, but I think somewhere around Article 77, 75, 76, it addresses the issue of pensions, and this is what a state officer should be. And even the issue, even the principle that a state officer should attract honor to his office. That provision alone is enough to be interpreted to show that anything dishonorable should not be done by anybody. So I think that we need to look at the pension of the president and the act on the pension, which just assigns pensions to office that you have left. Doesn't assign pensions to the fact that you are no longer earning a salary from the public sector. Because the purpose of the public sector jobs, first of all, nobody has got a right to employment in the public sector. Jobs only become a necessity so that the state can deliver on its mandate of providing service. So if you are no longer in that, if you are still within the state, you cannot legitimately earn a salary. So we need to relook at the Pensions Act. There's this act on the president and the deputy president and I don't know MPs on whatever retirement benefits. We need to look at that legal framework and address it properly and get the situation whereby no individual can continue earning a pension as you serve in a different office. Even you have governors who had, or other people who had served as MPs for 2 terms and they went into administration as governors. They were earning a pension and they were earning a salary. So that kind of set of affairs, I think, is not acceptable. And especially if you look at the fact that salaries for politicians are horribly, and I use the word horribly deliberately when you compare it within the context, are horribly out of touch with the salaries of other public servants. And so I think that we need to look at the law. And these laws are not just about pension. We have a lot of statutes in our books that contradict the Constitution and are being implemented. Even the Public Order Act that was used the other day is against the Constitution. So there's need for Kenyans to look at our legal framework and remove those laws that contradict the Constitution so that those who execute power are not able to use these laws to do what the Constitution forbids. That exercise was supposed to have been done within 10 years, within 5 years. But we are now in 13 years down the line since the new Constitution. It has not been done. That is the issue that for me is painful, and I think we need to relook at our laws going forward.
Thank you so much, for the clarification and also for your input there. Feel free to stay on the mic for further questions. And yes, we are happy to have you on board. Hannah and then Innocent in that order, 3 minutes each.
Thank you much. I don't know. I'll try the 3 minutes. Mjumbe na kusalimia Mwateta, a senator.
Jambo.
Jambo. We clearly can see that the Constitution is there, but the constitutionality of our institutions, it's not being implemented. So we're lacking constitutionality, even though the Constitution is there. Now, for somebody like you that I am aware, you have a few cases in court against the actual system in the states and different matters, in matters of... somebody's opened the music on them. My goodness. Now...
yeah, somebody. All right, go
yeah,
ahead.
thank you, Hilary. Now, in your own area, constituency, you having I know there is a lot of problem where like land grabbing, lands that are sold that belongs to that area, the government of that area, but you are unable to follow it up. There is a lot of misuse of funds. There are papers that you cannot get it from the governor. You go to court to get it. So you can understand if Madge and Hillary and I or any Kenyan says that they want to get this paperwork, they want to transparency, because this document, public document, they should be there for the public to be able to see, unless it's something to do with the military. You as a senator is having problems with that. You as a senator are unable to sort a lot of mess in your area. So what do you think of the local Mwananchi to be able to point a finger where a problem is? We know there is a lot of misuse of funds in when it comes to the local governments. We know even the money that is collected, forget the money that is allocated, even the money that is collected for these local governments do not get their way to the public coffers, which in totality means this system is not working. How should we then fix this system to work? work if a system that can make Mwatata not be able to get hold of evidence, not be able to go to court and present things, not be able to fight this corruption on his level, how are we going to be able to do that as Kenyans? Thank you.
Thank you. I think he's dropped from the mic. He's gonna come back again. He's mostly really having issues. There, he's Omtata, not Matata. I just wanted to correct that, Anna. So, and as he comes in, one aspect that, dear Mr. President, as if you can hear this, and I know this is going to be played to you. You people ask diasporans to invest in Kenya. But the title deeds sometimes that are issued by the same government end up being not genuine. So you have one land with three different title deeds, but these titles were just issued with the same government. So we'd want to see or want to hear what kind of reforms are coming to make sure that that is not the case. And the same things with demolitions, where people are building and the next thing you see that things are being demolished. Now, we need to have a scenario whereby if something is wrong, and people are buying land and they're not supposed to be buying it, they should be stopped before they start building on it, and not have a nation where demolitions just become an order of the day. This is something that's not creating trust in the diaspora. We really fear investing in that country because we don't know what's going to happen. So as we go to the next speaker, who's Innocent, let's not forget to build a network by following each other. So do follow each other. Innocent, over to you.
Innocent, can you hear us? Maybe it's not. John Mark, go ahead. Then Victor, then Gada.
Thank you,
Gada.
thank you, guys. It's an honor to be on the forum, and Maj, thank you so much for the work you guys are doing. Also, in recognition of diaspora today, I think I just want to make my comments very brief and in a philosophical manner. We need to be very, very careful about what we are approaching and putting on the table as our issues, because the country is basically, the inside of the country is riddled. It's a riddled cancer. Maj, you talk about the title deeds that are issued incorrectly. Let's not forget, this is not an issue that began 2 years ago. Neither is it done by Ruto or any other president that has been there. So what I want to reiterate here is the words that Honorable Omtata has reiterated. I think the issue that we need to be looking at here is our constitution. We, as the people and the owners of Kenya, blessed by God, those who are here and those who are in all other countries, because today diaspora is a constituency in Kenya. So we are all a part of our country, no matter how close or far we are. We need to look inside ourselves, and we need to have a moral discussion. And that moral discussion needs to go to each and every one of our individual hearts. It's about the values and principles, and the first preamble of the Constitution makes it very clear. So we need to have a discussion around the morality of our preamble and civil education, and everything else can then come falling into place. But we have a beautiful country, and we now have a people who are ready to take responsibility, no matter how hard or painful it's going to be. And finally, for the government, with the withdrawal of the finance bill, what that has shown us is, as the people, we have the power to hold the government accountable. And if we stick to that, because the issues are many, the reason why there's two people who are receiving 2, 3, 4, 5 salaries is not because we don't have a constitution. It's because of the immorality that's been applied in the day-to-day application. And with that, I wish all the Kenyans the best. Gen Z, you guys are on the lead. You've woken up. You're whipping us together. We are behind you. And let's do this correctly. Let's maintain peace, and let's institute change. It's going to take us time. We have not been, it's been 60 years of deterioration. So let's be aware, it's a journey. Let's not take politicians and put them into place of leadership. Let us
Thank
take leaders and put them into place of politics. We
Thank you.
have a
thank you
lot
so
of
much.
work. The rest of it will come together. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, John
All
Mark.
right.
And sorry that we are interrupting at the very end, but we were trying to just keep times to ensure that people, get to speak. 2 points I want to really underline. You spoke about diaspora being a constituency. Actually, the current government only looks at the diaspora as an ATM. They only look at the remittances. So while that diaspora is only an administrative constituency that was declared by the IBC on paper for the sake of for the sake of the elections, So I did know it's not yet a constituency they promised, but it's not yet been done. The question is, we need to look at the legal aspect of it, and probably any president should just say, well, this is not going to happen because of A, B, C. That is more honest than promising and not doing it. So what I know is that we had a number that was within the constitution. The IBC was allowed to make us an administrative constituency. That having been said, the diaspora is also highly defranchised. We have on a few voting locations. Europe, for example, only has two, and it's a continent. So we need, and that's the reason why we only had 10,000 voters in the whole of diaspora. We do not want to be reactive when something happens, and it's good that the diaspora came out to, to demonstrate. And so, stop killing Kenyans. We don't want you people killing Kenyans back home there. Stop abducting them. We never saw the first incidents when the president came out. He did not condemn the abductions. During the interview, he said, you don't even, there was a question from the journalist asking about the abducted people. He said, no, but they were found, but he didn't condemn it. So we need to also be actively participating and find ways to really help with the situation before it gets worse and makes us react. And as such, the one feedback that I got from the diasporans is that they need that all the embassies in the diaspora are petitioned to be made polling stations. Then that way a diasporan is not flying in from Helsinki to come and register in Berlin, then fly in again to come and vote. No, that's our right. So once they do that, the next thing would be, for every country, we need at least 6 mobile voting areas, because the last time the diaspora council, the diaspora department, had mobile consular services in different countries, and it worked. So that is the number one demand that the diasporans are putting out there. They need it to come through. And the second point is the withdrawal of the bill. The bill is not yet withdrawn. I want to clear that, because the president has no power to do that. So that bill is going to really become a law in some days to come. Okay, so now Gandalf and then Maura.
Thank you much for the opportunity to speak. I think I would reiterate what Senator Omtata has said, that with the right constitution, anyone can run the country. Like you've mentioned before, the diasporans are a cash cow, partly to the government of Kenya, and as such, I think it is important that our concerns are addressed. Now, you, in any given business, anyone investing in Kenya or any other place, you want some sort of stability, you want some sort of surety. Yeah. But in Kenya, you open a business, you have cartels left, right, and center. The rules are not clear. You don't know sometimes who is in charge and who isn't. So it is a mess that we have down there. That being said, if you look at the Western worlds, we've copied democracy from these people. In Germany, here you see, the Mittelstand and all this kind of stuff. Anyone can open a business, whether you are running a small bakery or whatever it is, but the rules are clear. The rules of the game are clear. The reason as why I'm raising this, we have a major problem called nepotism in Kenya. We have bureaucrats that occupy offices with their relatives and friends. So, Senator, as you people legislate, as you people oversee whatever is going on, we will have presidents, prime ministers, or cabinet secretaries that will ignore court orders because we have a system that have put people in place that ensure that the cartels run the show. We have a corruption problem that is not only institutional, but it is also becoming a cultural thing, partly. Our environment determine how we behave. Now, if you grew up with nipatie kitu kidogo, it becomes part of you. So this is a generational problem that we'll have to deal with. Yes. The one thing you notice out here, for example, is the honesty. I live in Germany, and these people are honest. That is the first thing you notice. Right from small kids, quite honest. They give you answers straight as you want it. Now we have to start changing from that aspect. We have to start being honest. It is good, and I'm happy that we have people like Omtata. We know that people like Omtata are not for sale, not unless otherwise. Yes, but our biggest challenge is, in as much as we want a constitution that works, we have a problem of nepotism. We have to acknowledge that Kenyans are quite tribal to the core. That is something that we have to acknowledge. And once we've acknowledged that, do we come up with laws? Do we have a constitution that addresses this directly? Yes. You can change people, you can change the government, all you want, but you have bureaucrats that are conduits to corruption in these institutions. Institutions are only as good as the people that occupy or people that sit in them. So we have a major problem in this kind of sector. And please, Senator, as you will be talking, kindly, if you could address that, or the legal minds that are in this forum, we have one of the best constitutions in Africa, and it's high time we start dominating. In okay,
Right.
I think my time is
Thank
up.
you.
I
Yes,
have
yes.
so many things. Thanks.
Yeah, no, but as you land, if I could just give you one, as you land, what is your message to President Ruto? Main message.
My message to President Ruto is quite simple. Fire the yes men. Yes. Stop advising yourself. Get some people that you can listen to, get people that you respect, and listen to them. Yes. Don't surround yourself with fools. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Esperance and Maura in that order, 3 minutes each.
Yeah, thank you very much. Will be as brief as possible. So yeah, it's indeed the diaspora contributes about 3 to 4% of Kenya's total wealth. That is our GDP. So the diaspora is a very powerful community, and as we look at how things are, we all have a role to play. I keep on telling each and every person, you have a role to play as somebody who has influence. You come from a family, and I believe there are people who listen to you. I've been in this advocacy space for for as for the longest time possible. I'm 28 years old. You have a role to send your people to in public participation. It's one of the gifts that the 2010 Constitution gave us, and that is why we went to the streets this time, because the public were participating locally at grassroots, and our members of parliament do not listen to us. And that is the danger of buying the National Assembly. When you don't listen to us, we will go to the streets so that we can be heard from the streets, because clearly that is the language that the country understands. So, my message to leaders here, my message to everybody here, I joined the president's X space, and most of the questions were really underwhelming. The issue of ethnicity, for us to be saying we are tribeless, it's so sad. We all should be proud of where we come from. But because things in this country have taken such a wrong tribal turn, we are not even embarrassed to say I come from this place. So we really have to hide under being tribeless to be listened to and to be heard, which is so unfortunate. The thing is, when you look at appointments, I want you to, if you check the dailies and look at any appointments since Felix Koskei, who should be gone home because of his retirement age, if what the president said is to go by. I mean, we have people, we have this issue of affirmative action. You realize that even people now from northern Kenya are more employed than people from Teso and other communities. For heaven's sake, we can't have 2 or 3 ethnic groups taking more than 75% of office spaces in this country. You can't tell me we don't have a Marakwet, or when we say Kalenjin, we're grouping people. We don't have a Marakwet who qualifies, or a Teso, or we really need to. There's still a lot of fight that needs to be done. The issue of ethnicity in our country needs to be addressed in public spaces and in government offices and all that. Another issue is we had the 2/3 gender rule that we are proud of as a people. But when we look at the executive of which the government has, out of 12,000 employees, I think the judiciary has reached have tried and gone above the 2/3 gender rule, and they have 50-50. But when we look at the executive, out of 12,000 employees, they have apparently 3,000 females only. So we really have a long way to go. And if we are to look at SabaSaba March for Our Lives today, what I like is that this movement cannot be stopped. We just had a little bit of more confusion here on X, but when you go to TikTok, you go to other spaces and on the ground, I mean, we young people, we are still charged, and we're not stopping until we get change. We will be heard by at least 1 or 2 people. We have to save this country because it's gone to the dogs. We have to do whatever legal things we have to get things in order.
Thank you so much, Esperance. That's Esperance from spacing from New York. I think we lost you there, but you were done, right? Okay. Hillary, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Maj. I think
Esperance.
we lost that.
Yeah. Okay. Maura,
But
over to you.
Okay, thank you. I think you can hear me. Okay, thank you, Marge, and thank you for hosting the space. And I want to touch on something from Marge you have touched about investing in Kenya. You have talked about RAD, cartels, and everything, but I want me to look from another angle. Cash is a king in any business. And if you look at the finance bill, there right now in Kenya, we have close to 650 billion pending bills. These are goods and services that have been supplied to the county government and to the national government. And these businesses are being supplied by small and medium enterprises that are the engine of any economy, whether in America, in Germany, in Kenya, or wherever it is. Now, if you look in that finance bill, there is no money that has been allocated to pay these spending bills. This about 650 billions. Now, there are a lot of us who are in abroad and we would like to come and invest in Kenya and solve some problems. I had talked about this some time ago about wanting to, because people are suffering, a lot of hospitals in Kenya are suffering for lack of oxygen. I decided to maybe to come home and open like 2 or 3 oxygen plants. And one is not, and these are not all that expensive to do. But now, you see that when you have such a kind of business, you supply to the government, to the county government, and the national government, your oxygen and everything. Now, when you have such a delay, uh, when you when you when you have such a delay of when you see that kind of money and you are not being paid, now you really wonder what is happening. So my question to Senator Okiya Omtata, if he's here, you should ask us: can they register a law whereby if you supply goods and services to the county of the national government, you be paid within 60 days? Failure to which, or there should be a law that every day what you are owned by the government, the county government, increases with a percentage of 2%. That way, the government will have enough discipline to pay us. And message to Ruto is he should just vacate the office. 2 years enough. He has done enough mess. Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Maura. Joining from Switzerland. Switzerland is represented. I see Okiya Omtata has come back on. I'll give him the mic to answer the questions that have been presented until now. Okiya, over to you. Hillary, you wanted to say something before Okiya?
Yeah,
Please
as
go.
it comes in, also Kabando is with us, and some people are saying that they can come to a mic to
Okay.
go ahead, Mheshimiwa.
Over to you, Okiya Omtata.
John Wakesa, John Wakesa,
I
just
would
mute
request
your
that maybe the question be repeated. So there's some have I'm under attack. There are too many calls being made on my handset from numbers I don't know. So, but I think that first of all, to begin with the question of pending bills. Pending bills are things that are unconstitutional and unlawful. They should not be there. What has happened is that these pending bills are monies which have basically been stolen, whereby legitimate procurements are made, money is released from the treasury, and then there's something they call voiding. They are not paid. After the money is received by the entity which is procuring, they do what they call voiding on the IFMIS. And once they void this thing, they have the money, they divert the money to other things that have not been budgeted for. So you find that you've got a legitimate claim, has not been paid, but claims that were not in the budget are being paid. So largely these pending bills are monies that have been stolen from the public through dubious means, and we cannot repay them without necessarily going after those who are behind them. Because the law is very clear that you cannot procure without having money. And if you look at the audits that have been done, most of the pending bills are bills that were legitimately procured, but other things were allegedly paid for using the money that was released from the government coffers to pay those bills. So there's a huge area around that. And in fact, the matter is going to get worse because now there's a push by really from the accountants in Kenya saying that we should go from cash-based accounting to accrual-based accounting. Now, the problem with that is that it may work very well with companies and whatever. I don't know how they get their money in companies. But in the public sector, like the government of Kenya, we pass an appropriation, we pass the budget, summarized into an appropriation act, and each year has its own budget which has to be implemented. So how you come up with a mechanism to carry debts from 1 year and introduce them in the budget of the next year through accrual just because through an accounting system is what I don't understand. So we just need to go and be strict on our cash-based accounting and make sure that every year the budget is passed, is balanced, and nobody steps outside that budget. That way we shall be able to move forward. Otherwise, the question of pending bills, which came in largely with the introduction of the IFMI system, is a matter that should be arrested thereby through executive action, whereby procurement systems are abused. I did not get the other questions because I'm having too many interruptions on my phone, which is not unusual. I'm getting too many incoming calls.
Yeah, because you joined, and sometimes I think I'll take this offline. So at least
Maybe you can
least
just tell
next
me
time.
ask me the questions that were asked, so I can then be able to answer them. Now that I've
Yes. So
gotten
the
the list.
next question was, is there a way one can introduce a law that requires, for example, the national government to be paying their bills? When you have a tender with them, that it's specified that it's being paid within this amount of time. Failure to which it's going to accrue some interest. Do you think this is something that would be realistic and would even be pushed through? I mean, it's going to help because Maura, who is speaking, is
It would not be an ideal thing to go for from where I sit, because right now I'm litigating a case whereby the Laikipia Air Base, somebody was given a contract for the Laikipia, was given a contract for the Laikipia Air Base. The interest alone has run into billion shillings. The interest that has been earned alone is about 3 times the principal amount. And what was happening, there was collusion between the people in government and the contractors, I think, to siphon off public money by not paying the debt, so that the interest that was awarded through an arbitration system could be paid. Since I intervened, they've paid almost, they're almost through the principal before the case is heard, because I wanted people to be held responsible. But now, if you allow the interest to come into public funds, we are going to get a lot of such cases whereby supplies are done, and then unscrupulous public servants just say, okay, let us give this money here, the principal, and we continue earning the debt, we are continue earning the interest with the whoever is doing, whoever supplied. So it would really be a very risky system for me. The law as it stands right now is adequate. The law requires that you cannot procure when you don't have the money to pay for it. And so where government fails to pay for it, there should be consequences to that. And if you have to make any law, then it should be that procuring it, anybody who procures and doesn't pay is liable personally for that. I will agree with that. But to charge an interest on the taxpayer will be opening a very, very dangerous loophole in the law whereby people will simply go into collude with the contractors, don't pay the principal, and the interest continues accumulating, and they keep on servicing the interest. That's what I would say. The current law is adequate. Let us punish those who offend that law. Let us punish those. Let us punish those who procure and don't pay, or procure without the money, having the money to pay for the procurement. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Okiya Omtata. And that's why we always love having you on board, because you give a different perspective. Of course, the perspective you talk about, I really understand that this is the way it's going to be twisted to work, where they're just holding the money and getting further money from the interest. But the question remains to the president, if he's listening, because if I'm a diaspora and my money is gonna be put to stuck in Kenya, and Zambia is asking me to go and put it there, I'm gonna put it in Zambia. So they should also find a way of implementing the laws that are already in place, like you say, to make sure that diasporans have more confidence in investing in Kenya, because that is what they preach, but the situation is not really helping
I
us.
fully agree with you that the rule of law is on its deathbed in Kenya. We have got beautiful laws, but nobody is implementing them. Nobody is obeying them. And that's why we need, when we talk of a change of leadership, it should be a change of attitude to the law. If we just implemented the laws that Kenya has, beginning with the constitution and any other laws that are aligned to it, this country can be turned into a developed country overnight. But as long as we ignore the law, we hurt so many people. Genuine people get hurt. And I know of genuine investors who, because of this business of avoiding the IFMIS procurements and then their money is diverted, have been bankrupted. There was this lady in, I think it was in Laikipia or somewhere, she committed suicide. So she had supplied the county government genuinely, and the county government had diverted her money and paid somebody else. And there she was stuck with a bank loan that was eating up everything she had. So it's really thing, but we must get people who will implement the law. We must implement the law. There's no other way for Kenya. If we implement the laws we have, the law is very clear that don't procure and you don't have any money. You are required to pay. When you procure and you don't pay, it means you did not have the money when you are procuring. That procurement officer should be punished for breaking the law, but they don't get punished. And that's why, okay, you are having pending bills in billions of shillings. Why didn't we have pending bills under Moi? That's the question. Why didn't we have pending bills under Kenyatta 1? Why are we seeing pending bills beginning to appear under Kibaki, maturing under Uhuru and Ruto? That's the question we should ask ourselves. It's because we had, yeah.
Go on, just go on.
It's because we came in with this system whereby we had this thing called IFMIS, we went digital, and what have you. Then some craft fellows are abusing it and denying genuine suppliers a chance. You you tender, you go into a tender, you win the tender, everything's cleared, the money is released to pay you. Then the paying officer does not pay you, goes and procures somebody else. and pays them, then you who was genuine, whose documents were used to get the money from the state, remains with a pending bill. That such a fellow should go to jail. Why are we negotiating with these characters? Why are they still in office? And it's happening across the land with no accountability. That's how I'd put it. Let us implement the law and deal with these people ruthlessly. If we get a dictatorship of the law, Kenya will be saved. Without a dictatorship of the law, Kenya will not be saved. Everybody from president to the citizen must be subject to the law and must suffer the consequences of the law. If the president is not wearing a seatbelt, a constable on the beat should be able to arrest him and hold him accountable for violating a traffic rules. If we get to that point, this country will deliver on the promise it has for its people. And that's all.
Thank you so much, Okiya Omtata. And I think the rule of law answers a lot of questions that were sent your way. Hannah also asked the question about, I think, in your back in your place or your region, and I think that just answers it, because her concern was, if you are fighting to get the things you need, what about the common mwananchi? But as you say, if the law is followed, then this common mwananchi doesn't even need to go through that. And that also answers our questions with the fake titles that are all over, you know. Yes.
And also, I may just add that it's not just in my country that I've been unable to get documents. Even in parliament, there is this thing that what you say, whereby under the last years of Uhuru, they came up with a scheme to steal from the public, where they came up with this thing called the Kenya Development Corporation, and used an archaic law in our rules, a law which was meant to have expired with the colonial government, but was still in our books, which incorporated the Minister for Finance as a corporation, so that the British Crown could transfer assets that belong to the Republic of Kenya to the new state. That was done. Now, using that law, Ukuri Atani, who was the Minister for Finance, constituted himself into a corporation and decided to form a corporation called the Kenya Development Corporation, and using a gazette notice, transferred assets from all the other state agencies to this corporation. Similar to what Ruto was saying, that he has dissolved state corporation. How do you dissolve a state corporation which has got an act of parliament? So they did that and they brought these things in, but they forgot to do one thing, that to validate a gazette notice, legal notice, you need to take it to parliament within 7 days of the sitting of parliament. They didn't do that. So I've been trying to go to get parliament, to get the clerk of the National Assembly through the table office to write to me and say that they received this document or they did not receive that document. They have refused. I know they did not receive them. I've checked the register in the table office. The minister never, Ukuri Atan never tabled that legal notice of his. So it was a nullity, and therefore the Kenya Development Corporation has got no legal framework that has it, but it has taken all the assets from the tourism industry, things like ICDC, tourism, Kenya Tourism Development Board, whatever. All the things have been taken out there. All the assets, some of them have been stripped and sold for a song to private investors. My attempts to arrest this are being frustrated because I just cannot get a letter from the clerk of the National Assembly confirming that the minister never tabled this document to get validation of parliament before it could take effect. So these are the kind of things that we deal with. So if I'm a senator and a clerk who is a junior to me defies me simply because he's well connected and he cannot give me documentation, and state assets are being stolen, even right now, the KDC is disposing of a massive assets, the tourism industry, and it's being sold to people who are networked. And then KDC itself is registered at the Attorney General's office by a private lawyer. The Attorney General is not involved. All the directors are private people. So how do private people register a company and transfer state assets to that company? State assets worth 500 billion shillings to that company just by a gazette notice, which is not even tabled in parliament to be validated. You know, that is the mess we have in Kenya. And you cannot get a letter just for you to go to be able to move the court to stop it. So there we are. Rule of law. The country is just in a total mess. I think I'm getting a bit angry, so that's enough.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm glad today at least you were able to speak. They let you speak. It's not like at least I think we've shouted so much anytime they're taking you off, and so please do stay on for other questions. So as we proceed now,
I have to undergo a medical procedure.
yes.
I have to undergo an X-ray and MRI. And my doctor, I see, is now standing outside here.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to get into the theater.
Oh,
If you'll allow me, I'll catch up later.
you are a bad patient. Are you spacing before you get into the okay? We wish you all the best, and then
Okay. But I'll come
but
back when I want them done. I want them through with the X-ray and MRI.
no, it's just the X-ray and MRI. Okay, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. I thought, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. So